This news program is proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Now Biscuits.
Major drug bust in Goroka. Report identifies illegal logging in PNG. And Marine Protected Areas meeting hosted. Good evening. This is National Emtv News. I'm Malcolm Wyra. Thank you for joining us. Papua New Guinea, being a member of the Coral Triangle Initiative on Coral Reefs, Fisheries and Food Security, hosted the Marine Protected Areas Regional Exchange Meeting via Zoom in Port Moresby today with other member countries.
The Marine Protected Areas Technical Working Group in Papua New Guinea hosted the 9th Marine Protected Areas Regional Exchange Meeting via Zoom platform with 5 other member countries, including Malaysia, Philippines, Solomon Islands, Indonesia, and Timor-Leste today.
I will begin my presentation today with a quick NPA update.
The Marine Protected Areas Technical Working Group is among the 5 technical working groups of the Coral Triangle Initiative on Coral Reefs, Fisheries and Food Security that is supporting the 6 member countries, including PNG. The Director for Sustainable Development Program on Conservation and Environmental Protection Authority, K. Kalim, highlighted the event's motive.
A voluntary arrangement between the 6 governments who have come together to protect the vital resources, which is more the global marine epicenter on marine resources, and which is something that we all the 6 countries are proud of to protect. So this particular exchange program, which is focusing more on marine protection, it is an area that all the 6 countries come together and exchange ideas, share knowledge on what to do and what to improve and what to learn from each other.
The sponsor of the event, USAID, is also supporting biodiversity conservation and equity amongst PNG. Program Management Specialist in Biodiversity, Energy and Gender for PNG, Solomon Island and Vanuatu, Julie Ulama, had this to say.
Priority in this region is to really build resilience for economic resilience and environmental resilience of the region. But more specifically, with the Lukatum Ground project, we're just trying to make sure that we are building local communities, people really building local communities and community-based organizations' capacity in nature-based solutions to addressing the impacts of climate change, whereas biodiversity threats.
The purpose of the meeting was to attain the goals and targets of the regional plan of action with a particular goal of marine protected areas to be established and effectively managed for a sustainable future. Louis Maingu, National Emtv News.
During the Marine Protected Areas Regional Exchange meeting today, PNG shared its experience on the traditional marine conservation practices to other member countries.
Thank you.
In terms of the contribution to the attainment of the goals and targets of the Coral Triangle Initiative on Coral Reefs, Fisheries and Food Security Regional Plan of Action, each country also presented their Coral Restoration Guideline Development, MPA Management Intervention for Coral Restoration, and PNG said its experience as well on the traditional marine conservation practices. The Director for Sustainable Development Program on Conservation and Environmental Protection Authority, K. Kalim, talked on the traditional marine conservation practices in PNG.
The marine space itself can be seen as a sacred place. So today's program more or less is now showcasing how culture involves marine conservation, how culture can be used to do protection. So
Marine Conservation Officer in the Wildlife Conservation Society from New Ireland, Tracy Boslogo, highlighted the traditional maritime conservation practices in the New Ireland province.
Mi plaigat, ntano plantiel work line, so plus tatimol program lo LMMA networking, and lo disla program now mi play using all province officers lo identify more local champions mi plakole mo line lo peles we olia to li kamapim disla ting lo kautim sol warana rep blol one tem all passing tumbuna blol all customs blol sampla oli intentionally kamapim na sampla because lo narapla all custom work na emily di mole kamlo oli luki mosem because all work custom mosem lo tambu maybe because someone die and all luki mosem stock and recover all marine animals only come back na coral and grow good, so I'll just continue lo this like so I got different.
Traditional knowledge can be incorporated into marine laws at all levels, in local, provincial, and the national level, so that it enables communities to be robust in conserving and managing their marine environment. Louis Maingu, National, Emtv News.
Papua New Guinea was selected as one of the countries to participate in the pilot program for climate resilience, or PPCR. Meanwhile, the Climate Change and Development Authority, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme, began a one-week training workshop on climate change mainstreaming, disaster risk strategies, and emergency response simulations aimed at 5 locations in the country.
The workshop on climate change mainstreaming, disaster risk strategy or DRS, and emergency response simulations training is a critical component of the Building Resilience to Climate Change or BRCC project, aimed at incorporating vulnerability and risk assessments into local planning processes. The BRCC project, funded by Climate Investment Fund or CIF, is committed to enhancing climate resilience and reducing disaster risk in East New Britain, Manus, Morobe, Mumbai and the autonomous region of Bougainville, in alignment with national and international climate goals. A comprehensive climate change vulnerability assessment conducted under the BRCC project found that climate change poses significant threats to communities and ecosystems in the BRCC target sites as identified. It is aimed to mainstream climate adaptation strategies and measures into the planning processes at the ward, district and possibly provincial levels. The disaster risk strategy and emergency response simulations training enables to provide local communities with comprehensive training on disaster risk strategies and management, and conducts practical emergency response simulation exercises to enhance the preparedness and response capabilities of participants. The workshop was rolled out in East New Britain province last week from the 2nd to the 6th of this month, and is set for Manus from the 16th to the 20th of this month, for Arob from the 30th of October to the 3rd of November, from the 13th to the 17th of November for Milne, and the 27th of November to the 1st of December for Morobe province. Amanda Ilaitia, National Emtv News.
Almost all logging activities occurring in the forests of Papua New Guinea is illegal. This was revealed in a new timber legality risk assessment recently published by community advocacy group Act Now.
The assessment is based on a comprehensive review of all the available literature, including the reports of official government inquiries, court cases, international organizations such as the Royal Institute of International Affairs and the International Tropical Timber Association, and civil society groups. The risk assessment analysis showed that although most logging operations are authorized by the PNG Forest Authority, there is an almost universal failure by the PNG Forestry Authority to follow the law in issuing timber harvesting licenses. This was expressed by Act Now campaign manager Eddie Tanago. Mr. Tanago said this includes a failure to ensure the informed consent of customary landowners and a failure to follow the correct procedural steps designated in the Forest Act. The risk assessment also finds a complete failure to monitor the harvesting operations and ensure the logging companies follow the terms and conditions of their licenses. Act Now says its recently published case study on the Wemi logging operation provides a good example of the types of illegal practices that can be found across the whole logging sector. The risk assessment findings of widespread illegal logging are consistent with the recently released Anti-Corruption and Money Laundering Strategic Plan published by the Bank of PNG. The strategic plan identifies illegal logging as one of the top 5 money laundering risks in PNG. Act Now is calling on the government to immediately suspend all logging operations across the country until each one is independently audited to establish whether it is legal or not. Act Now also says the government cannot rely on the PNG Forestry Authority to bring the problem of illegal logging under control or implement any reforms. Natasha Ovoy, National Emtv News.
Emergency works for Nawai district is currently underway after certain parts of the district were struck with floods and landslides.
Local member Theo Pelgan said access to the district administration headquarters has been left in limbo after the Busu Bridge collapsed and several parts of the Arab and Wine Road was destroyed by landslips and flood. Road links from Nabak Highway has also been affected with portions of the road cut off by flood water, leaving behind bridges vulnerable to use. Mr. Pelgan, who was concerned on the matter, swiftly sent Nawai District Technical Team and National Works and Highway engineers to do environmental assessment of the situation. Reports of the assessment will be gathered and a plan to mobilize machines will be executed to carry out repair works at the Busu Bridge. The NDDA has engaged New Guinea Bridge Company Limited over the weekend to commence early preparatory works and a wet crossing in the interim until funding is secured to construct a new bridge. The new bridge will cost 8.5 million as estimated by the Department of Works and National Highway Engineers. MP Pelgan thanked the Works Secretary David Were and Works Manager Moraba Samson Apai for their swift actions in the assessment and recommendations in engaging a contractor. CEO for the district, Bats Botike, said it is an unfortunate situation caused by the nature. The DDA is working in collaboration with all technical teams to restore road access, movement of people and goods and services. Gladys Kila, National Emtv News.
National Emtv News continues after the break with more stories. Stay with us. You're watching National Emtv News. 10 students were part of the Japan International Cooperation Agency that were brought to the 2 waste management facilities and shown them how these 2 facilities work to manage wastes in Port Moresby.
The students started off their tour at the Baroni Dump and were given a presentation of what the National Capital District's Waste Management Division does in managing rubbish that is dumped at the site. After a very informative presentation, students with their teachers were transported to the Port Moresby Sewage System Upgrading Project at Joyce Bay. Nereus Kua, the plant manager for the Joyce Bay Sewage Treatment Plant, gave a PowerPoint presentation of what the sewage treatment plant does and also the mechanics behind it. Kua gave the students, their teachers and representatives from JICA a tour of the plant. A female student had this to say regarding the tour.
Definitely, I and my fellow friends will take this experience, this lesson, and we will teach our friends to be responsible for their rubbish. We will surely help with the way that the things that we've learned from JICA.
Grade 11 student Freddie Felihau from Jubilee Catholic Secondary School shared his experience on both the tours.
How the the process of how people, at each of the especially the treatment plant and the dump site, like how they deal with rubbish, how they sort rubbish out. It was one of the most interesting things that I've learned so far from today.
Tamara Agavi, National Emtv News.
Two separate drug busts transpired yesterday in Goroka, Eastern Highlands Province. The first drug bust was conducted by the police, where 2 kilograms of marijuana were uncovered at the Goroka airport with a street value of more than 2 million kina. But this wasn't the only drug bust. On the same day, 10 bags of marijuana were also confiscated elsewhere in Goroka and were later taken to the police station.
Eastern Highlands Provincial Police Commander Superintendent Michael Welly has pointed out that smoking of drug has resulted in a lot of mentally ill people and a lot of contributing factor to lawlessness in many rural communities in Goroka and the province. 10 bags packed with marijuana was brought to the Goroka police station and handed over to Goroka Police Station Commander Inspector Timothy Pomoso. Inspector Pomoso said the marijuana was most probably prepared to be transported along the highway to be shipped to coastal regions outside Goroka. 2 suspects that were also apprehended during the raid were also brought to the Goroka police station and detained. According to the Eastern Highlands NCIU at the Goroka police station, such an amount of dried marijuana has a street value of more than 1 million kina if transported and sold in centers outside of the province, including the major city of Port Moresby. The revised law on drugs known as the Controlled Substance Act or CSA, the maximum spot fine is 1 million kina and a maximum penalty of 40 years imprisonment, depending on the quantity being found in possession. Tamara Agavi, National Emtv News.
The tribal fights in Wapanamanda, Enga province, which raged for almost 2 years, has gradually come to a halt, with the warring factions being served with preventative orders, which were accepted by the parties last week. Enga Provincial Police Commander George Kakas and Kandep MP and Minister for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology and Sports, Honorable Don Poile, as well as Enga Provincial Government through its Law and Order Directorate, witnessed the peace efforts.
The long and deadly tribal fighting, which claimed up to 100 lives and displacement of thousands, has now seen the start of ceasefire and peace-building efforts. PPC Kakas said there were 2 different fights around the same time, which amalgamated into one bloody battle. The fighting had seen killings going on viral on social media, local mainstream media, as well as the international media. The battle had seen Ambulin, Itokon, Sao, Lungipin and Yopo tribes entangled in the bloody warfare that also saw destruction of private houses, schools, vehicles and other properties worth millions of kina. Kakas said it was a relief now that leaders of the warring factions have talked peace and accepted the preventative orders. Minister Pollier also urged the parties to lay down arms and to embrace peace wholeheartedly. Meanwhile, PPC Kakas said he made a decision to have 30 security personnel to be stationed at the boundary of the 2 factions so that the preventative orders can be observed. Natasha Ovoy, National Emtv News.
242 staff under the Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority are undergoing training by the Somare Institute of Leadership and Governance, or SILAG. The training program was officially opened yesterday at Kimininga Hotel in Mount Hagen.
The induction to public service training will see staff ranging from support staff,
Nurses, health extension officers and doctors from Mount Hagen General Hospital and other health facilities in Western Highlands Province get training on their roles and responsibilities as public servants. Staff have been divided into 2 batches with 221 participants each to undergo 2 weeks of training. Silag Highlands Region Training Manager Johnson Hebe thanked Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority under the leadership of Acting CEO Jane Holden for showing interest in training its health staff who played a major role in providing healthcare services to the people of Western Highlands Province. Director Training and Workforce Development Robert Nemala also encouraged participants to be faithful in attending the program because it was a stepping stone for them to develop their mindsets as leaders in their line of duty. Ms. Holden also challenged the participants to make sure they were punctual in attendance and to ask questions to the facilitators. 2 trainers from Silag will be on ground to train the staff. Tamara Agavi, National Emtv News.
10 students from 2 secondary schools in Port Moresby were given a tour of the Baruni Dam site and the Port Moresby sewage system upgrading project at Joyce Bay today.
The waste that drifted from the sea, you don't have proper system. 5 female students from Marineville Catholic Secondary School and 2 male and 3 female students from the Jubilee Catholic Secondary School in Port Moresby with their respective teachers were part of the tour today. The purpose of this tour is to promote waste management at schools in NCD through the dissemination of information about the Japan International Cooperation Agency's waste management projects and also about the Japanese culture. Ryota Nagase, a representative from JICA, had this to say regarding the tour.
To tell each one of these students to bring back the experience and learn what they have learned today and bring back to their homes and their friends so that they can share with the ideas of how the waste management is important. So,
a grade 9 student of Marineville Catholic Secondary School shared her experience.
That really stood out was how much rubbish that we Papua New Guineans produce every single day. Just within the capital, there's 200 plus tons of rubbish every day that's been produced by us. And a single person produces 0.4% and kg, and that is big.
Tamara Agavi, National Emtv News.
Now we take a look at the Nest Fund market report. The kina closed lower at $0.2710 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.2635 US, 0.4071 Australian dollars, 0.2410 euros, and 38.82 Japanese yen. Looking at the commodity prices, at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed higher, copra closed lower, palm oil closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National Emtv News continues after the break with Chukai Sports. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The Money Plus Port Moresby AFL today released a statement following the match disruption that took place last weekend in the league's grand final.
The Port Moresby AFL have finally reached a decision on its premier grand final match that was called off last weekend due to disruption to the game. The decisions concluded on was that there will be no rematch of the grand final and that Garaka Bombers and the Gordons Kokofas are granted a tie as there was no clear winners with the match being incomplete. The executives also acknowledged that the teams gave an excellent battle on the field and had, in the lead-up to the match, showed great sportsmanship in the season. Port Moresby AFL apologized that the season had to end in such a state and noted that the matter will be discussed with the Federation and that service action will be taken against the two teams accordingly. Natasha Ovoy, Chukai Sports.
Following a recent story published that PNG boxers are without funds to travel for the upcoming Pacific Games in Honiara, Solomon Islands, the PNG Boxing Union today received a check presentation of 54,000 kina as assistance for the upcoming 17th Pacific Games in the Solomon Islands from National Finance.
Shocked of the recent news that PNG Boxing was going to miss the deadline for registering its athletes and officials for the Pacific Games, the National Finance stepped in to assist one of the most renowned sport in the country. The announcement was made by National Finance Group General Manager William Haylock in a media address today.
The PNG boxing team also has some of the country's most talented female and male athletes, and they deserve to be competing at the highest level. I'd like to announce that National Finance will be providing a cheque to the PNG Boxing Union for 54,000 kina to register 27 boxers and officials for the 2023 Pacific Games. We'll also be providing a team bus and driver to help the athletes be able to get to the village, training and competition.
He expressed that the National Finance decided to support the union as it embraces a lot of talented youths, both male and female, in the sport, and deserves to be competing at the highest level in the Pacific Games. Receiving the check was the president of the PNG Boxing Union, Dr. Gideon Candino.
And the PNG Boxing Union as a whole, like to wholeheartedly thank National Finance Limited for coming on board to sponsoring our boxers and officials levy fees. We've been having a hard time trying to attract corporate sponsorship, so this has been the first direct sponsorship. All the others we've had were partners like the PNG Olympic Committee through the Consolidated Holdings and PNG Sports Foundation for giving us a venue to train, and Lamana for assisting us last week with our major event.
The support was encouraged by a story recently published in the media that the sporting code being underfunded to meet registration deadlines for the upcoming Pacific Games risk being axed from Team PNG. This funding will now enable the union to prepare fighters to compete in the Pacific Games in Honiara, Solomon Islands come November. Natasha Ovoy, Chukai Sports.
PNG professional kickboxer Nelson Sampson, who is the president for his boxing club, Unarmed Kickboxing Club, says he is preparing to host a local fight in December. At the moment, Nelson is also preparing for an upcoming international bout.
After a successful fight in USA this year, the Samson Unarmed Kickboxing Club is looking forward to hosting another in-country fight in December, where President himself, Nelson Sampson, is preparing his fighters for an upcoming bout later this year in December. Currently, Sampson says preparations are well underway at the Sir John Guy Stadium, where the athletes are using the facility in preparations for their upcoming bout. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
You're watching Trukai Sports. The 17th edition of the Pacific Games this year will see our Melanesian brothers Solomon Islands host the 2023 Games in Honiara this November.
Now, the 2023 Pacific Games is just around the corner. Now, this will be the 17th edition where Solomon Islands will play host to this year's Pacific Games, where several Pacific Island countries, as well as New Zealand and Australia, will also participate. Now, Team PNG is yet to identify or name its final squad to this year's Pacific Games. Now, currently at the moment, the PNG Olympic Committee, the PNG High Performance Sport, and the High Performance Sport, as well as the several sporting codes, federations are working hard to send Team PNG to this year's Pacific Games in Solomon Island. Godwin Eki, Trukai Sports.
That ends Trukai Sports. The Money Plus weather report is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
The weather forecast for the next 24 hours. For the southern region, Port Moresby City, mostly cloudy with few rain showers and drizzles. Popondetta, rain showers and drizzles and possible thunderstorms, then cloudy. Looking at the Momasa region, Ley City, cloudy with few overnight showers. Vanimo, partly cloudy with few morning showers. To the New Guinea Islands region, Lorengau, cloudy with brief showers. Buka, cloudy with rain showers and thunderstorms. To the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City, rainy periods tonight, then scattered morning fog. Mendi and Wabek, rain periods tonight, then morning fog.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Wednesday, the 11th of October, 2023. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Good night.
This news program was proudly brought to you by
Smart Start Breakfast Biscuits
and Gold Nuggets.